Hello everyone, so today we are here and I am putting outriggers or pontoons on another Lifetime Eddy kayak. Some of the things to keep in mind when you're looking at a kayak is what's the weight capacity for that kayak. Remember, these are all flat water kayaks, not meant for rivers or the ocean. Wild ride. So today I'll kind of take you through the steps that are required for putting them on the Eddy Lifetime kayak. Here we have all the stuff that we're going to need to do that. Of course, you need the shrimp pot floats, crab pot floats, whatever you want to call them. And you need, I use electrical conduit for the main support beams because it's more flexible than PVC. I do use PVC in some parts of the project, which we will see here. I use PVC for all the connecting points. These will be for the pontoons. 3/4 inch goes through here, the pontoons slide on. You can kind of see on these guys how those are put on. Piece of 3/4 PVC goes through there. You got to drill out the buoy with a 1-inch wood drill. And then of course you can kind of see how the connectors all go together. 45, electrical conduit, electrical conduit, electrical conduit. And you'll need a heat gun to do the bending of the electrical conduit for around the back part of the kayak. Works really effectively. Of course, a drill, a hacksaw, and a level. And it doesn't hurt to have a Native American flute somewhere close by you can play. And of course, all-purpose cement for PVC, and that works well. Screws, I use 1/4 inch screws for anything that's supporting the main frame. Anything, and I always use washers to support underneath the kayak. Of course, you'll need pins to pin the pontoons on, or the outriggers, just like this. Once we get to that point, these pins just clip right on and come right out, and you can pull your outrigger off. Now this is my work platform. I raised it so I don't have to bend over as much. I just put it up on some pallets. The way that I lay it out is I do a center line. That's where I'm going to line up the kayak. Now I have a reference point for the pontoons that are centered with the keel line. So I know that those are going straight with the kayak. And I'll show you how I line those up. And the distance from here to here is 36 inches. I don't recommend going anything beyond 36 inches, and I don't recommend going anything closer than 34 inches. Law of physics, and we'll talk a little bit more about how these outriggers work and support your load and stuff like that as we go. But just lay out your platform, center line, 36 inches from that center line on both sides. You're going to lay another center line that you can make sure you're straight with that keel. So I'll get the kayak centered up there. Okay, so I've got it all lined up there, Now the center line of that tape goes right down the center line of the keel. Then over here I've got my line for the pontoon alignment on both sides. Just make sure you support it good, and you're going to check the level, making sure it's level side to side and front to back. Pretty close. Good enough for government work. Just make sure she's level, get her set up, make sure it's all on line with the center line of that keel, and we'll start laying it up. This is a 1-inch wood drill. And just drill that out so you can slide the 3/4 through there on all of those. Now my floats will fit on a piece of 3/4 PVC, just kind of like that. But I'm going to cut it a little bit longer. I want a little bit of playroom to play with those. So just measure out what you need for that and give yourself a little extra. And we'll be putting those on here shortly. Now you still got to pound it in there, but when you start taking these and putting these down inside, you need to put some alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Just let it run down inside there, put it up here, and then just put something solid on top of here and just start pounding it in, but be careful so you don't break the PVC. It's going to take a little bit of effort, but when you're done, it's solid. It's good. Just keep in mind, you got to drill these out 1 inch first. You can still see some of the alcohol, but yeah, make sure you put alcohol in there. I'm going to finish driving the rest of these. Okay, I got all of these ready to go. Takes a little bit of time. Just take your time so you don't break the PVC. And I'll put them together and show you what it looks like. Okay, so what I did to start bending the support is I marked the halfway point. Then you just start heating up the tube while you're holding it out and let it start sagging. Eventually, when that starts sagging to that certain point, boom, come over here and just wrap it on the kayak and let it cool on that area. Now you can see these two other spots that I have to bend in to grab those, and I'll do that and get back with you. Okay, so I finished bending the main support. So take your time, try not to put bends in it, you know, just keep it round. Keep it round. Just take your time. Take your time. Okay, so once again, since I had to move the kayak to a different location, you can see that I've kind of laid out the 36 inches on both sides. I've got the kayak centered on keel. So I'm just going to start building from the main support beam. I'm going to start building the pontoons out. Make sure that the kayak is level both ways. Okay, so I've got the fittings on. Just keep in mind at this point, do not glue any of these fittings. You're just doing everything, just put it together. And you'll see why here in just a second. So I got my fittings on, got them cut to size. They just happen to work so that they go into the depressions right here. Now I'm going to be cutting parts and pieces of the pontoon. So you'll notice that the pontoon is made of several different pieces. Of course, you got the floats. I got this assembled. Now I need to cut the lengths and put this together, and you'll see how we'll get it to fit here in just a second. But just remember, do not glue anything yet. Just put it together. Okay, I just kind of piece fitting things together now. I got some things, just nothing's glued yet. You can kind of see how these lines are working. You can see that one needs to be adjusted over there. But the first thing is I have to pull these back off, pull off the outriggers, and I have to attach this to the kayak so it's firmly mounted. And I'm just going to use some one-hole clamps, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so what I've done so far is I have attached a few of the straps here holding on the main support beam just to keep it in place. I'm going to do the test fit with the pontoons or the outriggers and get everything lined up so it looks good. Make sure that the lines are straight with the keel. Do a little fine, do a little bit of last minute adjustments. Nothing should be glued yet. Just make sure those are straight. Now the next thing is very critical. Okay, so the next step that you need to do is everything's in alignment. I'm happy with the way everything is on there. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to put marks on all of my fittings right where they line up. Just like this one. What that allows me to do is I'm going to take it all apart, clean the fittings, make sure everything's sanded, make sure I got good marks on everything for lining things up again, like this one right here. And then I'm going to glue it and line up those marks again. And I'm locked in stone. Just take your time, make sure everything's clean, sanded. Okay, I'm all glued together now. I just got it sitting there letting the glue finish drying. Everything's pretty lined up. I'm happy with that. I have to drill holes for the pins right here, and I'm going to build the back brace that gives both of these a support, which is like this one right here. And that connects both sides and acts as a spring support and stabilizer all in one. So that's what I'm going to put together right now. Then it'll be ready to take it apart and paint it. Okay, so I got the back brace support cross to cross on there. Everything is glued and I'm just letting it set before I put the outriggers back on, and I gotta drill a pinhole right here. You gotta make sure. What I've done is I've marked how far it goes in, so every time I put that in I know it goes in all the way. And you want to make sure that pinhole is right in the middle of that. It can't be towards the end of this, or that pinhole is going to have to be right about here to give it the best support. We're just on dry time. I'm going to get those pinned and put back together and ready to float. So I've got everything glued, everything's lined up, and I got the pins drilled. Notice how it's in the center of the coupling. It's not at the end. It's got to be in the center. Center of the coupling. Now I can just pull the whole thing apart and paint the whole unit, put her back on. Get ready to go kayaking. So I've painted everything. Just letting everything dry. You can see that support bracket comes off as one piece. And make sure you don't paint the part that goes inside the support frame. I put some tape here so the tape will come off. So here it is, all assembled. Got the fasteners all on. Good and solid. Just take these pins out and the outriggers come off. The important part is making sure your tapes are lined up, and And what I did on these guys is I ran this out 13 inches. I ran this down 12 inches. This is just a 45 bell end and a 45 PVC. I just set it up the same way I had my other one over there set up. And worked out fine. I like it. So have fun.